the interesting thing is that data can always change, so it's volatile. While if you create a model and then train that on your own data, that's still a fixed model. Yeah. And every time you change data, you have to retrain it. So RAG is a very dynamic way of working with your data and then having answers on specific data that only your company knows.
Hey there, welcome to Betatalks, the podcast.
I'm Rick.
And I'm Oscar. And today we are joined by Christian Peeters. Christian is a principal cloud architect at Betabit and a certified Microsoft trainer. He loves to share knowledge. Since the year 2000, he is teaching, building, training, leading, and coaching. Welcome, Chris.
Welcome.
Hey, nice being here.
It's so great to have you on. And
he's actually here.
He's physically. So that's. I wanted to say first, it's not entirely true. We had Bram earlier today, which we recorded on the same day, and
Time travel,
then all the way back to episode 0, where we actually had somebody in person with us. But all of the other ones have been online, so it's nice to have people.
Ones. Well, maybe more. We just
maybe
tend to be a bit forgetful lately.
It's maybe something age.
But it's special because it's not every week.
Fair enough. And then one thing that actually I didn't forget about is the fact that you, Oscar, and myself as well, used to be principal cloud architects at Betabit.
Mm-hmm.
And now you introduce Chris as having that same role. So
that's
Chris,
weird.
from your perspective, what does it actually mean? What does it entail to have that role? And how do you fill in what's being asked of you?
We try to, as principals, guide our customers and our colleagues in making the correct choices and making proper software for the years to come.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of advice to our customers, but also delivering training.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always fun to do. I've always been training other developers and stuff. So that's kind of my role at the moment.
So for those listening to and only listening to us, I could really see your entire face light up as soon as you started talking about sharing knowledge and teaching. Where does that passion come from?
Oh, that's a good one. I think it's. Well, my whole family was teaching or in education in some manner. I think it's in my genes. And actually, it's kind of way back. I got my first computer in the 80s, and then I knew I am going to be some software developer in some way. But my father always said, you're going to be a teacher. Because, he was a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually he got to the point that I became a teacher in software development.
So you just combined the two. I really want to do something with software development.
Both?
I mean, best of both worlds, right?
Yeah, sure. Not the intention to actually be a teacher, but if you have an education in being a teacher, you also know about how to create software, but also have some other knowledge about how people learn, how groups work, how to present stuff, and how to teach things.
Mm-hmm.
And those skills are also come in handy during your career as a software developer.
But maybe also, I mean, you're a principal architect now, which also means you probably talk to C-suite or at least people that are involved in strategic decisions for companies. I can also imagine that group dynamics and how to influence people help there as well, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And if you have a proper story and know how you can bring people along the journey of what you try to reach, that of course is beneficial.
Yeah, I can imagine that one. And then I think I saw you posted this morning or it was yesterday, I'm not entirely sure, that you got an ad for Techorama and then you're actually on the ad yourself, right? Yeah. So there's a picture of you on the Techorama ad, which is kind of nice. I can imagine that's maybe also a little bit of validation, or it feels like validation for, hey, apparently I'm doing something that people like.
Yeah, and I think it was just a good picture also. But
but yeah, it's all about you. It's not about the picture.
Invite for the third time now, so that's cool. So I hope people like my sessions, and therefore I get invited again.
Yeah. So I've seen you, or we've spoken before, because you were a speaker at .NET South, which is the user group I run, and then you were there as a visitor as well. You do Techorama, so there's a big difference between being at a user group for like 50 to 100 people or being at Techorama in a huge movie theater with a couple of hundred people in there. So that also means that it's not only about the amount of people that you're reaching, it's also really about the teaching and sharing the information, right?
Yeah, sure.
So one of the things that's always stands out when Oscar and I talk about this is the fact that most of the sessions we like best are the sessions where people tell their war stories and show their scars and tell how they tried something and then it didn't work and then they retried and then they found how it actually works. Is that also something how you build some of your sessions, or is it more, hey, I want to learn about this one topic, so I'll just send in a session extract, and then if they pick it, I'll have to learn it because that's conference-driven learning, as we've coined it. But what's your take on how do you work on that kind of stuff?
I look at the nice stories of sessions of others, or just somewhere I get very enthusiastic about. And if I can be enthusiastic, I want other people to be enthusiastic about the subject. So I try to make a nice story that people would like to hear and learn from. Yeah. And then try to start from the basic and build it up. So people after 1 hour of talk actually have the idea that, okay, it isn't that hard and it's not magic, and I can do this. And then hopefully they go home and try to do it themselves.
Yeah. So what's the most recent thing that inspired you to build a session around it because you thought, well, this is just so magical or such a valuable service or product or strategy or framework?
On Techorama I'm going to talk about the RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. And I saw that, not sure where, but it was done just by a SQL Server, for example. And that was the first time I realized, okay, it's not the vector databases, it's not magic, it's just actually just some numbers. You put them in some database. It can just be your SQL database you already have. Let's try it out and let's see how that works. And then, hey, if I got my data in my own databases, why not do also the language models in my own environment? So have some local language model running, and then I'm able to do proper AI, but decoupled from the internet if I have to, and I'm in total control of what's happened, because AI is kind of giving away control somehow, and now I have full control over it, and that was something I thought was a nice subject to talk about.
Yeah, I can imagine. So that's also you make it you take it and break it apart in elements that people already might know, so you lower the barrier to entry, and especially AI topics tend to be mystified. It's like there's RAG and there's all kinds of things, and the first time you hear vector database, you think you need something very special. In the end, it's a data type in your database, and it's not that complicated once you're in there. But as you spoke about teaching, it's that getting people excited, but also showing them like it's doable. Like just transfer the spark, and once you're in there, like you can go to the next level, and that's, I think, always nice from teaching and learning. And like once you get into that loop, and like there's also no limit. Like a lot of people really struggle with the first step to learn something new, but in the end, I think that's the job description is I learn new things. Like it's not about
fair enough.
It's not about writing the code or whatever. It's about learning the better way or the newer way.
And that's actually, this really builds on top of what we've discussed earlier today, where we said, if you're not willing to keep learning and to change and to adapt, you'll be left behind, right?
Yeah, that's limiting.
Yeah. And of course, there are still very interesting roles and things that you can do if you make that choice. But I think it does need to be a conscious choice for people to actually think about, hey, if I stop learning and stop taking the next step, I might, then you're staying where you are right now, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of people, especially skilled developers, that are not taking the crossover to actually touching this AI stuff, and they're keeping a bit away from it because it feels weird. The promise is they're gonna take away our jobs and like all kinds of things that would prevent them. But I think a session like that is good too. It's like, okay, with the tools you have, I'm gonna build the same thing and just get you over to just trust it and go from there.
Yeah. So maybe for people listening who might not necessarily know what RAG means or what it means as in what it adds to your AI landscape, could you maybe shortly explain what the general idea behind RAG is?
Yeah. So we have the language models, large language models. They are trained on a lot of data on the internet. So they know a lot about everything. But everything that's being found on the internet. But maybe I don't want it to know about everything on the internet. I want it to know on specific data or specific knowledge within my company or my application. So if a user asks a question, then you going to find the answers within your knowledge base, your database, or your documents, or whatever. And then you can send the question and the documents or data in your database to the large language model and ask the language model, hey, provide me an answer to this question based on this data. The interesting thing is that data can always change, so it's volatile. While if you create a model and then train that on your own data, that's still a fixed model. Yeah. And every time you change data, you have to retrain it. So RAG is a very dynamic way of working with your data and then having answers on specific data that only your company knows.
Yeah. So the answers are then grounded in your data. That also means, and this is a term that I officially cannot use, but I'm going to use it because I'm not in function today. But the model tends to go hallucinating if it doesn't know where to go from, right? So I think I've told this story before. I have a blog with like a couple of 100 articles, and then I said, hey, write me an article on this and this product. Use my blog as the input for tone of voice and that writing style. So it came up with this beautiful blog article. And I saw a couple of links in there. So I clicked them and none of the links worked. They were links to documentation, but also to product information, to all kinds of things. And then I asked the model, did you validate for the links to be valid? And it said, no, but usually if you talk about an Azure service, it's azure.com/product/ and then the name. So I just assumed it would have been the same for this one. So the thing is, it just came up with something because it generates based on previous knowledge. While if you actually ground it in tangible, I'm going to say tangible, but if you ground it in physical data that's actually just tells you about what it needs to generate based on top of, then hallucination will no longer be an issue because it has to be there, the data, for the model to be able to even use it, right?
Yeah, and it's easier to check, right? To directly fact check if it generates the source of it next to it.
That has to be also in your prompt that it's not allowed to
make up answers.
Make up answers, yeah. So if the answer is not coming from the database or your knowledge base, then please say, I don't know, or something.
Otherwise, you can further and further, right? So recheck the answer coming off, like to filter out. Like you can use the same technique a couple of rounds and to get it better and better. But also what you mentioned, like write me a blog post, is basically freeform, right? Because in the end, the thing is just making one word up based on the next.
Yeah, yeah.
Doing loops like that. So it's also logical that it will go somewhere instead of exactly where you want. While if, for instance, like I think always a good example for a reg is basically a financial law or whatever, like some kind of law book about a specific thing. So you can ask questions and you have the references then. And like but then you go a bit more into question mode, which is easier to not be wrong. While if you indeed create something, then basically you're asking it to be fully creative and you get the effects of it. So like composing new data is something different than looking up data. And the reg is basically really, here's your source.
Yeah.
Go in there, look at it a few times, and then basically using the LLM, of course, to do that. But you mentioned the vector database as well, because if you describe like reg, you could do a text search basically, but the vector database is something else. Maybe you can explain how that works.
Yeah. So vector database is semantic search. You don't want to search for a specific text or some word in the title, but you want to search based on meaning. That works with vectors. So you provide it with a text, and then it will, based on a lot of dimensions, it will figure out what the meaning is of that particular text. And then if you ask a question, it will generate a vector based on that question, and then it will find. You can look up the vector closest of the documents closest to the vector of the question. So you get the answers closest to the meaning of your question.
So basically, your database is just doing an index of like numbers near that. So that's why it can be really performant, and it's not that much data as you would have if you would actually do a full text search.
Yeah, it's quite amazingly fast. As a sample, I indexed, I think it's 20,000 documents, and I ask a question, it returns within 200 milliseconds or something, with the correct top 5 of documents or something, and it's for me it was quite mind blowing to see how quick I was able to find actually the meaning of what I was asking in thousands of documents.
I think for a lot of people it's not clear that we basically reinvented search in a much better way with all this. It's I think that has a lot of application in a lot of spaces. While the media just shows like I can generate a video now, which is amazing, but still not very useful in most cases.
It's not the unique selling point of what we can actually do with all of the tools that we now have available, right?
I tend to like the boring stuff lately of almost everything. If it's boring, it's stable, it's good. Like also security. Like
Oscar, this has something to do with age, probably.
Yeah, maybe. Like I wrote on a whiteboard this week because I had a tester. It's like, how is it? And he looked at me with the face like, are you bored? He's like, yeah, actually, yes, because I cannot find anything. So I wrote on the whiteboard, boring is good, ! So that was my theme for this week as well. But like also these parts, like the things that got figured out as like a part of this component, look at those, zoom into those, because they might help you in a lot of cases where you used to have to build a lot of stuff or had performance issue like this. I think if you just look at what the LLM brought us, or actually the tokenizers that are used, just rebuild your search that you had.
Yeah.
And maybe just look at your products, because if you look at Azure Search, basically you can do the hybrid search and stuff. It's out of the box. Yeah. While you might just still lean on the 10-year-old implementation, you might be able to improve a lot of small things as a side effect of this whole AI movement.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. Oscar, do you know what time it is?
Is it already time for Totally Random Question?
It is time for Totally Random Question.
You do it.
I'll do it? Okay, let's see what we got right here. Okay, Chris. What is this question even? Which item in your house would be the most judgmental if it could talk?
Ooh.
I don't know, man.
Judgmental.
Like for instance, it's the cheese grater because you always use it as a thing to actually scoop over the eggs instead of. I mean,
You do that?
No, I don't, because you can't use iron in a pan, but people do. I mean, some people do.
Like that. Oh, I didn't listen to that. Okay.
Or at least that's how I understood the
You
question.
never clean me.
You just wipe me on a piece of paper and put me back.
Yeah.
Well, in my house, maybe my motorcycle.
No.
And why is that? Is that because of how you ride, or the way you use it, or the way you sometimes
The way
Forget about it.
The way I say to my wife that I ride, and then I actually do.
So there, okay. She doesn't listen to podcasts, does she?
No.
Okay.
I will just cut it out. No. But yeah.
Have you been riding a motorcycle for a long time already, or?
20 years or so.
Yeah, that's some time, right? Have you also gone through the stages of, hey, I need this a sports bike or a super sports, and then, hey, I think a naked bike might be okay as well, or, oh, I think a chopper now fits me better. Did you go through stages already, or have you been on the same type of cycle for?
Same type. Yeah. Just not too fast, because otherwise it's going
might
to
become dangerous.
Yeah, and there's danger already, of course. But no, I just like my motorcycle. I have a Yamaha Phaser, and it's a sportive tour motor. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Phaser is a nice bike. Awesome. Yeah, well, I used to have a naked bike for a while, and then somebody said, hey, you could try my Diversion. So I stepped on, but I rode a Diversion 600 for getting my license. And this was a 1200. Now that there's a little bit of a difference there. When I didn't know the bike. So when I switched from second to third gear, I let my clutch go just a little bit too enthusiastically. The thing still did a wheelie when going from second to third. I thought, what? So that was quite impressive. And then I rode my brother-in-law's Harley, which was a great experience. So I'm out what my next bike will be. If it's going to be a naked one, or maybe something that more does also gives me the possibility of riding in the forest. I just don't know yet.
Nice. Well,
Choices.
Any bike can be nice, I guess.
Oh yeah, I mean do you ride, Oscar?
No, I always prevented myself to do that, because I would have one taste and one taste only, and that
As
would
fast as
be
possible.
scraping my knees in every corner. As a kid,
Leaving
I did
sparks.
some, sometimes on holidays, those little dirt bikes, them really. We always did that when we were on holiday somewhere. I could go. I loved it, but I'm more into cars.
You like the luxury of being inside and not.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's a luxury. I like them bouncy, sturdy, close to the road, and not always luxury, but
No,
like
definitely
I'm into fast, so I think bike. Always, everyone told me, it's like, you shouldn't even try that.
I've had one friend of mine, when I said, hey, I'm going to get my bike license, do you want to join me? He literally said no.
Yeah.
So, but that's really something for you. Yes, and that's the reason I'm not doing it, because I will wrap myself around a tree within a couple of months, so I'm not doing it. Which is a good form of self-preservation, right? Going back, Chris, one of the things that you wrote down was, I am convinced that threat modeling is a great way of making security part of your software development lifecycle. I'm curious what's behind that title, what's behind that statement, because probably you have some scars somewhere or some experiences somewhere that makes you say this. So I'm really curious to hear the story behind it.
A couple of years I was introduced into threat modeling, and then I realized that we were always trying to do the good stuff, and then you build a feature, and then probably this is okay and this is good, and we're safe. But we actually never did it in a structured way. Then never got just started with thinking about security. We always started with thinking about features.
Yeah.
And I was introduced by Patrick Besse, old colleague of mine, and that intrigued me. And was just the way we should have done it always. So you start out with designing what you want to create, and then think of all the things that could possibly go wrong, and then think of ways to protect the system against that, those threats. And then you can start building it safe instead of finding it out later or building it in later. Finding out later is probably the worst thing.
Finding out is...
and I think it's also quite fun to do, actually. Just to with a couple of guys and then try to figure out what, hey, if I was a hacker, what would I do? Or what if I was angry and want to get the system down in some way? What possibilities do I have? I think that's actually quite fun thing to do. And then, I've never done a threat modeling session at a company and didn't find anything. It was always something that you thought, oh, it's good that we think of it now, and people didn't find it yet.
yeah, I can imagine. Because you just mentioned hacking. You became a certified ethical hacker a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah.
So you actually have a very, I think, unique combination of interests. If on one hand you're into the software and the software architecture and the development, but also into teaching, but also into security and then hacking. That's quite the broad spectrum.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea why you have such a broad interest in the industry?
Maybe I'm just more a generalist than a specialist. And I'm working with software, so I think, oh, this is interesting, this isn't interesting, and then you just try to figure something out and then learn from it, and then figure something new out.
That's what we're doing the entire day, right?
Yeah.
Trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah, but I think it being a generalist, it's great in this business because, especially as a consultant, you also need to understand your customer's business, at least something. I think once you go into security, you basically always go, because they say knowledge needs to be like a mile wide and an inch deep. And there, you will find something you need to dig in anyway, but you cannot be just in one column because you will miss a lot of stuff. I love the whole threat modeling thing. I don't know if you heard that about what we do is also not so much only security in our team, but we do pre-mortems.
Pre-mortems?
Yeah, pre-mortems. I learned it a couple of years ago. It was really funny. We used to do post-mortems in incidents or near incidents, issues, whatever.
So if people are listening and might not necessarily know, that's where you actually try and find the cause and the reason for an outage that has
you had an
occurred.
outage, you had a security incident or a procedural incident that's okay, we shouldn't do it like this because this has a risk. And then you do a write-up and basically if once you're in heavy compliance area, you need to do those. And then I found out there, and it's invented in the 70s somewhere or whatever, but there's a technique called pre-mortem. And then basically what you do is with your team, you completely open up. It's like threat modeling. It's what could possibly go wrong. And the nice thing is you, because you invite everyone to think like that, everyone has a seat at the table. So your junior that in the design might not say something would say what if this happens? And they would completely just break your models. Oh, we didn't think about it.
Oh, crap.
But what we found out is that you do stories and you refinement or whatever, and you're in the let's make this mode. And you need to be there because otherwise you're there forever. Mm-hmm. But then we made a really simple list. It's okay, what is this touching? Is this a high risk thing, basically? Does it touch users' data? Does it just privacy, whatever? Is it exposed to the internet? All kinds of checklist. If it hits one of those, okay, first task when we start building is doing pre-mortem. So it's basically a threat modeling session. And you just go for 1-2 hours and you just go at what could we screw up here, and what would be the worst impact, and how would we be able to create that impact. So same as a threat modeling, but like over the whole width of functionality as well. So not just the security standpoint. And I would like to dive into threat modeling myself a bit more to also because that's really can be really detailed. But it's such a nice conversation to have up front, because nothing happened yet. You're on time. It's a shift left movement as well. Yeah. It's totally free, and everyone can really just like blank sheet, just shoot at it. And sometimes you write out mitigations up front. It's like, okay, this should be part of the design. This should be part of the release process. We should have 4 eyes on this. A lot of things you wouldn't do if you're just building features.
True.
And
true.
I don't know, maybe it's the experience and the scars of having seen some big failures and releasing incidents, security issues in the wild for the past years and years, that you're like, okay, like this is awesome to do, to just in this conf now think about those things already. It's hard to judge where to draw the line, right? Because I can imagine, like with threat modeling, you're used to that at some point it's like, okay, but this is really absurd, this scenario. It's hard to then make the call, do we actually make something for this? Because you get to make it complex, and at some point it's like, okay, new risk, complexity. Because that's the biggest one for me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. Is there a guideline that is there something that helps you in determining, dude, we're going off on a limb here, this is not something we need to look into?
You can do dread, right? Where you can have a rating on how easy it is to do, how easy it is to repeat, how easy it is to discover, and those kind of things. And then you can rate it and say, okay, this is extremely complex. It's nobody's going to be able to do this.
That's a bit likelihood impact kind of
impact analysis. Yeah. And then you can say, well, we draw the line at a score of whatever. Everything below that is, well, at least in this phase, we're going to accept it, or
it's basically accepting risks and then move on. Do you find it then hard to, because is then the group you're sitting with, are they basically mandated to take that decision, right? Because that's then hard. Like, do we need to now go back to, I don't know, CISO or whatever and explain all the details, and then asking them and giving them a responsibility of making that call? Or can you, in practice, can you just rate that with the team?
Well, with the teams I have been executing threat modeling, I think the customer also hired us because they trust us for building proper software, and then they rely on our expertise and our judgment. But for example, if they provide a product owner, I want the product owner to be there to also have a feeling of why, on when, or maybe different cases that we didn't think of. And sometimes she or he says, well, I have to discuss this on a different level with CISO or whatever.
No, it's definitely good to involve, because it's also eating their time, right? In building the product.
So I'm just not entirely up to par on that level of like threat modeling, those kind of things. And I'm really curious to see if there's tools that you can use to identify things. So one of the things that we have in Azure is Azure Defender Threat Intelligence, which is actually something like looking at all of the open source intelligence that's available for your company. So you can give up the domain name for your website, and it'll automatically see which other domains are associated with the same name servers, or which domains are already connected to the same. And it's going to look at open ports. It's going to look at malware openings potentially. So that's really a tool that allows you to see and think about all of the different types of threats coming in. If you look at just software in general, are there tools that can help you there as well?
But that's when it's already has been built.
That's the difference, right?
Fair enough. Yeah.
This is before you built it, so there's nothing you can scan it with.
But
you could scan the ID, but then we need to go to Elon and ask that neural link.
But when you design your system, before you build it, you can identify if APIs there, have servers there, have the database there, you have the code repositories over there. And then you can define your trust boundaries or security boundaries. And then on those boundaries, you can specify what could go wrong there, how you want to make sure it's safe. And there are some tools for that, and even the Microsoft threat modeling tool. It's not the handiest, but and the OWASP also has the threat dragon. But actually, I prefer just doing it on the whiteboard and just drawing and placing sticky notes. But there are some tools that will help you. Hey, there's a trust boundary. You have these kind of issues possibly there. How do you mitigate them, or how do you prevent them? So there's something there. Yeah.
And like once you did that, like how does it just go into the story as context, or do you do some form of documentation around it?
Documentation is also part. So we first define the threats, then define the risk. And then you need to document how you're going to fix it, or how you going to prevent it. And that can be user stories of PBIs in your backlog, for example. Or task in a story, or
and for instance, if you would say, well, okay, we accept this risk, it's really nice to have the that decision basically documented, because if it happens anyway, you can show like we thought about this, we invested the time, and because of this, we didn't do it, and basically you're already done for when it happens, because that's part of the time normally in your postmortem to investigate like why this happened, and we think about it. It's actually being able to think about it, but accept the risk. Maybe you did it wrong because it happened apparently, but it's conscious, and I really like those pieces. If you can really point to a piece of documentation, like these people were here and we did our best.
And can also make that part of your ISO 37001 or something.
You can show those,
so then it's documented where you draw the line.
What will you be doing in 5 years? Where do you see yourself or that what you're doing right now moving towards over the next, well, let's just say the next couple of years, because if we do 5 now and AI keeps progressing as it does right now, maybe we will be there in a year and a half. But if you look at all of the different parts of our industry that we still have, where will your focus go in the next foreseeable future? Let's call it that way.
That's a good one. I think security is forever going to be an issue, I guess. Even if AI takes over the world.
Even more.
Even more so then, yes.
So, I feel I will be investing in the knowledge of that. And AI, I think it's quite hard to see where that's going. I'm pretty convinced our jobs will be quite different in 5 years or 3 years even.
We're trying to find out what AI actually meant by all of the code that it's written, and try to make something out of it.
Also, how to maximize the possibilities there. I think, kind of scared somehow, and what it will mean for the future of software development, but also convinced that there will be new possibilities, and maybe we're just able to make more in less time. But I'm
to be honest,
interested. But
I can imagine. But if to be honest, if you look at what it can do now already, and also what some people are stating about AI, I think we will see an increase in people who have built awesome things, but don't necessarily know how they've built them or how they were built. And then that can work for like a month or maybe a year, but there's always going to be that point in time in which you want to actually understand what's there, so to be able to take the next step.
But like even with like classical software engineering, building something, and especially like a bunch of really fast 10x developers hired like the best in the field, building something for 3 months and walking away. That's one thing. Having this running on scale in 10 years later without security problems is a completely different game. And I think also AI is going to provide a lot of tooling there, whatever. But there needs to be a plan and a decision making, and it's just not going to happen by itself.
And still, somebody needs to be there who actually understands what's happening, right?
For me, the biggest gap is going to be is that a lot of people won't start or not going to have the possibility to start a development career because of all this. And people will skip bringing along juniors on their
journeys,
projects and journeys, and we will have another gap there, which at some point like, but we actually need someone with experience and skill. And we had a few years where people didn't start this anymore because we thought it was never necessary. Of course, the field's going to completely change.
Yep.
But it's not going to be not there.
No, I agree. I mean, I was I helped a group of informatics students had to do a project for a customer, and to 3 of those groups, I was the customer, and I had project. I gave them projects to execute, and then one of the groups. I mean, the first sprint review that they had so much up and running, and I thought, you didn't build this. You didn't build this. So already before we actually I thought of the assignment, I also had thought about a few curveballs to come along the way, and they were the fastest out of the from the start to have so much to show for after the first sprint. And then after the second sprint, they had even more. And I said, oh yeah, by the way, there's this small change coming in. They lost it. They didn't understand what was there, but it did what it had to do, but they just didn't understand. And then when I asked, now we'd like to transition into this structure and please take this into account, they froze. And they had to go back to the drawing board, build it themselves, and then take the next step.
That's the actual gap now in the technology.
Yes.
You need to regenerate because it's like moving this around is kind of impossible. So also like just regenerating even new specs is doable, but the moment it gets bigger and bigger and it's there and you have
legacy,
you have state basically, data, customer data.
It's going to increasingly get complex.
So that's really the next level of this technology where it needs to now come in and actually help you moving it. And it will get there, like I'm certain.
Yeah.
But you still need to have some understanding and like about the legacy decisions that were made and being able to read the decisions that were made because you documented an ADR or whatever. It's like in this case, it was true. Now it's not true anymore. So you understand what was there because you cannot just burn it because customers are using it probably.
Yeah, it's out there and it's also probably generating revenue. So you also need to have a decent exit or at least migration strategy for the next step.
Yeah, that's we're not there yet.
I think we've been saying this for like 25 years now. We're not there yet. And then we've seen 4G languages coming in, and they caught on. And then at some point, somebody said, but we're just not there yet." And I think we lost them.
Yeah, we did a step back. And
I mean, low code is of course, or no code, of course, is just the next iteration of
but
what
then
4G
you get in the like. It's the whole vibe coding now thing. I think that's basically low code, right? No code.
Yeah, because you're not touching code. You're just saying what you want. And
it's just a different tool to generate it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it coming really close. I have become way more productive in some spaces.
I have seen a browser-based Pac-Man. Working, coming from vibe coding.
Of course.
So you can build something.
Honestly, you can build copies of things.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right?
And it's faster than I would be able to do it by hand. Way faster.
Yeah.
But the specs of Pac-Man are pretty clear.
Yes. Yes, true. Chris, is there anything that you would like to get back to or anything that you would like to add to the topics that we've already discussed? Or maybe you have something where you think, well, before we end this... Wait a minute. Yeah. This is something the listeners at least need to know, either about you, about Betabit, about AI.
Well, maybe a little scoop, maybe.
Oh.
So Microsoft stopped with the tech head and the tech days and dev days and those kind of things. But they now started up together with Techorama and NDC, the Azure Dev Summit.
Yes.
Yeah. Lisbon, right?
Yeah, Lisbon.
Yeah.
And last weekend I got an email.
You're in.
I'm in. I'm invited.
Oh,
Wow.
Nice.
Congrats.
So that's
Cool.
that's cool.
That's
a nice
cool to be.
What's the topic going to be that you're...
Rag. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Oh, that's a nice trip.
So for anyone listening, when is it in Lisbon?
half October.
Okay. Cool.
Nice. So if anybody wants to see you speak on RAG and they want to combine that with a nice trip to Lisbon,
Yeah,
be our guest.